Welcome to the podcast with your favorite cash flow guys, Mike and Blaine. Giving you the best advice while having a beer. When you're running a business, there are problems every day. Let Mike and Blaine help you out and guide your way. Cheers to the good times with Mike and Blaine for business, beer, and BS.
Hey, episode 120. We are starting episode 120 of Mike and Blaine. I'm Mike Milan, also known as Cashflow Mike. That is my partner, co-host, and friend, Blaine Birch from Dry Run. What's up, man?
10 dozen.
10 dozen.
That's how many episodes? 10 dozen episodes. That's a lot, man. That's a feat. That's a nice round number.
It amazes me all the time how often we've been. We are coming up on season 4. If you're new, if you're just finding out about us, hey, believe it or not, this is season 4 starting January 1st. So, man, you need to go check out the other ones. Where can they find us?
Find us at mikeandblaine.com or just do a quick search. Spotify, Apple Podcast, all the podcast networks. You can also find us on YouTube. We stream live to Facebook, to LinkedIn, to YouTube as well. We're all over the place, and we're getting more and more views. But I started putting these shorts up, and now we're getting a ton of people looking at these too, which is hilarious. I think that's kind of fun.
I cannot believe you had within minutes. It seemed like it was probably an hour, but within minutes, you had 200 views of our first short that we put out there. It was crazy.
Yeah, and I've been told I should put shorts. I'm like, yeah, whatever. But I hadn't done it, and then finally I'm like, you were the one that said you got to do it. So okay, I'll put some up, and all of a sudden we're getting all these views, and we got shorts going out to 3 or 4 different platforms. We're getting a ton of views on each one. So it's hilarious, and it's increased our downloads a lot. So that's kind of fun too. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any episodes.
Hey, this scroll thing, this reel thing, reel meaning R-E-E-L, not real being R-E-A-L, but reels, I'm getting sucked into those things, man. Occasionally I'll catch catch myself running through them, right, left, not right, left, up, and just watching reel after reel after reel. It's great entertainment. It's short. It's bite-sized. It's probably warping my brain slightly, because it's funny. There's a lot of stuff I'm going, man, I know that I should stop looking at the internet after some of them. I'm going, okay, that's enough internet today.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is you start watching one, it's like, oh, that looks interesting. And then I start watching, and then it just goes into another one and another one. And then a few minutes burn by and you're like, oh, okay, I should go get some work done. Like, so I don't look at it very often because it could suck you right in just like a magnet.
Yeah. It used to be YouTube, right? People say, oh, I went into YouTube, I watched one video, and then, 2 hours later I came out.
Yeah.
YouTube wasn't the short version of videos. YouTube was longer. Like you could watch 5 minutes or 10 minutes. These things we're talking are seconds long, maybe a minute, maybe 2 minutes long. Yeah. And, Is that a problem? Is that a problem in society? Are we becoming that short attention span?
They've been saying it's gone from 15 minutes of fame to your 15 seconds of fame and getting shorter and shorter. I think it's about probably 1.5 seconds of fame now. And, there's terms we never doom scroll. We never used to have that term before, but that's a thing, it's like you get into everything's built to just scroll and continue and suck you in. There's no end point. And they do that on purpose. So it's like binge watching,
Well, okay, so you said they do it on purpose. I saw a headline the other day. We're not even into the podcast yet, and here we go. But I saw a headline the other day about how Facebook is being sued for all of their predatory practices, right, to keep you addicted or keep you involved. So it's going to be interesting to watch. But let's talk about the 3 things. If you're tuning in, it doesn't get off the rails that fast usually. We usually talk about 3 things, right? We talk about 3 things. We talk about business. So if you're a business owner, you run a business, you think about business, you got friends that are in business, you just like to hear cool stories, this is for you. Yeah. The second thing we talk about is beer, right? So we're going to talk about beer next, and then there's a fair amount of BS, and you got a little bit of that up front. We usually save that for last, but you get a little bit of that up front. But let's talk about beer first. And we got beer sponsors.
And we got beer sponsors. We have got, and I'll do the first couple. We've got Larry Weinstein, CPA out of Houston, right? Out of Houston. Out of Houston.
Yeah.
Houston. Larry Weinstein, he's the guy. Talk with him. You need a CPA, go talk with Larry. Been a longtime beer sponsor now. Neighbor Pat, who has supplied beer endlessly for us, which is pretty unbelievable. Gallons of beer. That's amazing. And Rachel Barnett, who I'm going to pass over to you because you love talking about Rachel.
Rachel Barnett is our friend in Canada, but she also does the United States. She is the best in the world at QuickBooks training. So if you're new, you don't know what you're looking at, you need a little bit of help, you want somebody that's, I think, kind, empathetic, patient, Rachel Barnett can take you from 0, knowing nothing, to 60, being almost an expert in no time at all. Contact her at Gentle Frog.
Absolutely. And but we are on to the beer segment of the show. So what do you got cooking today?
All right. So here's the thing, right? Our topic, if you didn't see the topic in the description, our topic is boring is beautiful. And that was kind of a headline I saw earlier today. I'm like going, that's it. I want to talk about boring is beautiful. Now, when I say that, the beer I chose for today has kind of a boring can compared to some of them that we've had. But I chose the beer because, are you a fan of Yellowstone, the TV series with Kevin Costner and all that?
Yeah, we've watched. I don't think we're up to this latest season. We kind of faded away a little bit, but we watched the first few seasons.
Okay, so I think it's season 5, and they did it in parts. Like half of it was done, and then they were going to come back and do the second half. And it was supposed to be in November. They were going to release the second half in November. Well, I saw a headline this weekend that the second part of season 5 for Yellowstone isn't until November of next year. Now they've postponed it an entire year. So I'm pissed, right? I'm pissed because for the premiere, I went out and bought a beer for the premiere.
Oh, man. Okay. Yeah.
For the premiere. So this is a Yellowstone themed and not boring at all, except for the can's a little boring, right? So let me see if you know this. The 4 Sixes Ranch, you seen that yet? Is that on where
Never
you're
seen
at?
it. No.
Okay, so Jimmy gets in trouble, and they send him to the 4 Sixes Ranch in Texas.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
And
I didn't remember.
With the veterinarian, the doctor down there, right? So this is 4 Sixes is the beer, and it's called Grit and Glory. Man, it's just perfect. So it's heritage runs deep down there. That's basically what it is. The can's actually kind of cool, maybe a little bit boring. It's just hops. It's Pilsner.
Yeah.
Great Texas beer. Great Texas. This is actual a real ranch in Texas, the 4 Sixes. So
nice.
Hats off to them. So I'm excited to drink it.
Cool, man. That's okay. Now I feel like I should actually pick up wherever we left off. I can't even remember where that is. I was telling you right before the show, I had a beer in mind for this one. I'm like, I just have the perfect beer. It's called Flannel Buddies from Coldwater, and I'm gonna push it because I love that brewery. It is a terrific beer, but it was 13%, and I'm like, a pint of 13%. I'm gonna be rambling by the end. So I found another one which is actually kind of cool, and I don't say, but boring is beautiful. But this is beautiful, even though it might look a little bit boring. And it's Tmavé Pivo from Wrenhouse Brewing. And Wrenhouse Brewing is right here in Phoenix, downtown Phoenix area, and it's a Czech dark lager. And it actually is a beautiful can, but it's not like the other cans in my fridge were all a little bit outrageous. So this one could be safe, but it's boring, but it's beautiful. And so I really dig that. And it's actually a really nice beer.
Yeah, actually, it's cool. I'm always a sucker for geometric art. Right. And that's what it reminds me of. Now, I don't know what Pivo, Pame, or whatever that is. I don't know what that means.
Tmavé Pivo, I think it's a Czech dark lager. Maybe it's what they, isn't that Pivo Pilsner? I think that sounds familiar, but this is a Czech dark lager. So maybe it's but it wouldn't be a Pilsner then.
Got it.
I have no idea. I just was looking at it and I don't know. Maybe it's a Czech word. I'm not sure.
So here's the thing. You just heard us talk about 3 different beer sponsors. We are, what did we say, 60-something weeks straight.
Yeah, for sure. Oh man, no, I can't remember. We're gonna have to write that down because we have a lot of we've been going really good, but
63 or 64 weeks in a row, and we have room for more. So if you want to be one of our sponsors, if you want to be talked about right up front, one of the persons at the top of the show that we talk about, all you have to do is go to mikeandblaine.com, click on buy us a beer. You're like, going, well, you're not buying us a beer. You're actually sponsoring the show, right? You're actually putting money towards the show, and you can get in for as little as $5 a week, right?
yeah.
$5 a week.
And I'm telling you,
easy. Just buy us a beer. All you gotta do, just buy us a beer. And we talk about you. And we still have a main show sponsor, right? We've been kind of in final negotiations. Don't know where it's going to end up, but we have a main show. I think you called it a title sponsor, which is kind of a cool thing, right? Where you get a mid-show role where we're just talking about you and your product and what you can do for our listening audience. So that's an opportunity to get your business, your brand out in front of another audience because our downloads are climbing. So this is a good thing, right? Because you're going to get evergreen in the earlier episodes where you can get your name out in front of people and they can always hear about you from this time forward. So check us out that way.
Absolutely. And let's, right before we dive into the actual topic, you got to tell us what you do. You just got to tell and where to find you before we forget.
Again, I said in the beginning, I said, hey, I'm Cashflow Mike, right? I'm Mike Mylan, also known as Cashflow Mike. And you're like, oh, well, that's a funny nickname. No, that's the business, right? That's the actual business. They even got it on the shirt now. If you're listening on YouTube or you can see it live somewhere, Cashflow Mike's a business. So what we do is we help you find hidden cash in your business. And I tell you what, I've got this. I'll save that for the mid-roll, right? I got this thing that happened this week that I'm really excited about that I want to share, and I'll share it at the mid-roll. But I have training courses, I do consulting, coaching, and I've got a community of elite cash flow, professionals that can help you. If you just need help, we can get you the help. What about you?
Awesome. Yeah, I'm probably mentioned co-founder and CEO at DryRun, and DryRun is the cash flow and sales forecasting tool where you can model scenarios to your heart's content, so you know exactly where your business is going. You're making the right decisions. You're bypassing some of those perils that are coming, which we've seen over the last couple of years, and just making more money and improving your profits. So come and see us at dryrun.com. We'll get you set up in a free trial, and you can give us a go.
All right, so I think there's a bit of transference. You know what I mean by transference? I selected the topic. All right, so I selected the topic as boring is beautiful. And I think the word boring stuck in my head, and I'm like low energy. I'm being boring to the show right now. I don't want to do that. So let's pick it up. Mike, get your shit together and actually get in front of your audience and entertain, right? Are you not entertained? So that's what we want to do, is make sure that we're not boring. But today we're going to talk about the importance of boring companies. Because boring is beautiful, and that's what the whole topic is. When you hear boring is beautiful, there are companies that exist, maybe ones that you run today or you're thinking about running, or ones that we interact with all the time that are super attractive. They're attractive because they're reliable, they're predictable, they throw off cash. It becomes almost a mundane where, it's not the cool thing you see in the headlines, but they're so important, and it's okay to have one of these businesses. So I'm going to talk about that today. What about you? I mean, what do you think?
Well, and I think the biggest thing is those companies don't need to try and be exciting. They don't need to not be boring. They have the opportunity to double down on being reliable and credible, because those are the types of companies. That's what you expect. And that's what you're looking for. And don't confuse the market. It's okay. It's okay to be, boring, because you can be highly effective. And that's what people are looking for.
Yeah. All right. So when I'm thinking about boring companies, I'm thinking about stuff we have to have. I'm thinking about a bank. I'm thinking about like a utility company, somebody that they do it, they do it. It's just not exciting. You always want the ones that grab the headlines. You want the dry runs of the world, and they're changing the world. not every company changes the world, but they provide a service that we all rely on. We just don't think about the same way. I mean, for instance, like even at the smallest level, I thought the very first business I thought about buying was a laundromat. Very first one,
Yeah.
right? Because I like going. Remember, I was a state trooper. I'm like going, I don't know a lot about business yet. And it seems safe enough. I just go in and make sure the machines are good, the place is clean, and collect the money, right? That's what I thought about a laundromat. I'm like, well, if I do good at one, maybe I can do good at more.
Yeah.
And I found a laundromat that was like $35,000-$40,000, maybe something like that. I'm like, that doesn't seem, especially today, it doesn't seem like a lot for a business, but back then it was a ton of money. It was like going, that's the whole thing. My whole world was going into this laundromat. And so I didn't pull the trigger. I got scared that, people would come to the laundromat. And they still do. People still go to the laundromat. So, but when you said, being exciting, getting your name out there, those type of things, I don't know how you would translate that to a laundromat. I mean, if you can get too exciting, in a laundromat, I mean, what would you do different?
Yeah. Well, is that what people care about? Are they looking for something exciting, or are they looking for, I guess the thing is, what do people? It's knowing your market and what do they want. Now, I will say part of it, if I'm picturing a laundromat, which I just haven't been to a laundromat in a bajillion years, but if I was going to a laundromat, I don't want it to be full. That'd be my first concern. Can I actually get in and get a machine? Do the machines work? Is the price good? But one thing that I think is so important is that is probably a very boring place to sit and wait for your laundry. So you might have your phone, but then you're sitting there just like in maybe an uncomfortable chair, staring at your phone. And I'm thinking, what if it was a laundromat and it's like, yeah, but we have comfortable chairs. We have a barista over in the corner, and we got big screen TV with the game on or something. Like, it's like, hey, I got to go do my laundry, but I'm not going to be bored, right? So maybe that's what you look at it is the task that you're going to do going to be boring, and can you make it a little more exciting?
Here's the thing about those, right? Is that from a small business perspective, you almost can't staff it full time. You almost can't, right? I don't think it generates enough revenue to hire somebody. Yeah. So that means that most laundromats that I've ever seen are not attended, which means if you put electronics in there and you put other things in there, great chairs, they're going to end up in somebody else's house or out on the street, right? Just because you won't be able to do it. So, I want clean, I want safe, I want affordable, but, I don't know what else you can do with that. I mean, it's a boring business because there's not a lot you can do. And when you say if it's full, well, that's anti to the needs of the business owner, which means you as a customer don't want a full business or laundromat, but the business owner wants a completely full, used all the time. Somebody's waiting in line to put more clothes in, have a laundromat, right? So it's counterintuitive what the customer wants and what the business owner wants.
Oh, completely. And I don't know if you should be making it not boring or if you can. But, I keep going back to thinking about the types of businesses where I just want reliability, dependable. Like you mentioned, like from a bigger business point of view, banks, they have to really limit their excitement factor. Oh, well, the brands have changed quite a bit. They've changed how they approach the market, but it still is on this basis of reliability. But you're looking at, like, if I'm looking at, we had a bunch of work done on a garage door, and we had a garage door opener replaced a couple of weeks ago. That's an example of a business where I just want them to be reliable, dependable, and experienced. I do not need the cool garage door opener people. I just want them to be extremely competent, right?
Another private business that's like that is trash collection. There's three or four different choices here in San Antonio of trash collection. Do I really care which one? I don't. Do you pick up the trash or not? And it's boring and routine because to that trash collection company, they have to have contracts with specific neighborhoods and specific areas. But there's not a lot of just growth opportunity or ways to be creative, right? It's bid on a service, get the contract, go provide the service, and bill the customers, within a specific area. That's a boring, routine, mundane job that is super necessary, but the consumer really doesn't care. And chances are they probably don't advertise and try to get you to do more.
No, probably not. I will say that, like, as in every business, there are ways to differentiate yourself from the competition. There's things that you can do if you truly understand your customer, right? I know, like, up here in Scottsdale, I think it's once a month they have, you can leave out just about anything, big stuff, right out front, they'll pick it up. In Edmonton, they're so freaking picky. You cannot do anything. The garbage cans are little itty bitty things. There's so much, like, rules and regulation on what you can do and where you can put it. And I remember a number of years ago, we had, I think our lawn was done later than everybody else. And so the garbage guys had to pick up these like 50 ginormous bags of lawn cuttings and everything all at once. And I don't even know if they had to, but they loaded them up. The guys came up. And so suddenly it mattered to me because I was like, if these guys don't pick it up, how am I going to get rid of this stuff? So they came, they picked that stuff up. It was early in the morning and I ran out with a 6-pack of beer for the guys because I'm like, these guys are like, thank you guys. You probably didn't have to do that. And I was just a pain in the ass to you and I wouldn't ran out. And so there are ways to differentiate. And if you're selling to a neighborhood, a city probably doesn't care as much, but a neighborhood, they might go, yeah, these guys won't be so picky. They will pick my stuff up. I could put a washing machine out there. They're going to pick that thing up. That to me is like, I don't know if they'd actually do that, but that's a differentiator. So I think there's always a way to differentiate from the competition and figure out what the pain points are. It still doesn't mean that's not boring though.
Yeah. So we'll just say in my neighborhood, they contract with the HOA, right? The homeowners association. So I don't really have a choice, even though I know there's other choices out there. We have a contract for our neighborhood for that company. So I can only get with them. But they do offer a couple of times a year bulk trash collection, which means if you got those big weird things, you can set them out twice a year.
Yeah.
But during the year, right, if it ain't in the can, they don't pick it up. Right. So you gotta break down boxes. You gotta, there's a recycle thing, but it's only every other week. So and most things now are recyclable, which means that thing fills up fast because you're holding on to it for 2 weeks. Right. So you're really only getting like rid of food waste or anything like that from cooking in the other one, so, but here's the thing, that business, I think, is boring. And then after the break, and the break's not now, but after the break, I want to talk about what makes them attractive, because these are the businesses that most investors want to be a part of. Why? Reliable, predictable, have cash flow. It's just, it's the same thing. Once you get a process in place in a business like this, it's set and forget. Right? Or just managed by the numbers. So these boring, when I say boring is beautiful, I mean, it's beautiful because you can run a huge scalable business like this with minimal effort. I mean, minimal meaning it's mundane or it's routine. You're just doing the same thing over and over again, managing to a number.
Well, and it's so funny because so often we both have had tech startups and you had one in the past and now you've in the coaching and everything like that. We've both been exposed to the Silicon Valley ecosystem and mentality that has changed. Granted, it's changed in about the last year. It's like did a 180, but for a good probably 15 years plus, profit didn't matter. It was all growth. It was chasing. A lot of times the trendy or sexy sort of like right now is AI. If you did AI anything, people trip over themselves, and the failure rate is incredibly high. But then you look at these businesses that are just really established and they just tick away, and it's like you're just printing money and you're printing profit. It's a very good place to put your money. It's just that's where you're going to have reliable profit year after year.
And nobody's questioning it, right? Nobody's questioning how you do it. You just like, oh, they pick up the trash. I pay them this, they pick up the trash, everybody's happy.
Yeah.
I might get mad. I mean, that's the other thing, though. In those type of businesses, you don't get a lot of people go, this is the best ever. You get a lot of people like going, I'm tired of them raising my rates, or I'm tired of them.
Yeah.
You get more complaints than you do otherwise.
Yeah.
But, that's just part of it.
I guess looking at those more, in some ways, traditional businesses, one of the things I would question is like they can be just so reliable. They can print money, like profit. But are they truly scalable? A lot of them, and are they have profit, but are the margins razor thin? Because a lot of those really like it's one of those. There's no big technological advantage or anything like that. Competition, I would expect, would be fierce, which means that you're probably a lot of times are coming down to price, which means your margins are going to be tight.
Well, all right. So let's define scalable, because to me, it is scalable. Because if I'm doing trash collection in San Antonio, I should be able to do it in Dallas and Houston and Phoenix and all the other little towns in between. The same way, I should be able to apply the same model. So to me, scalable is a repeatable process, right? But can I do this?
Yeah, but like you mentioned those, like you're talking about, those cities have all had trash collection. Like they've had it for a long time, which means you have incumbents in a boring area. How do you differentiate outside of price? And if you're new into the area, your costs are high, right? So technically, is it scalable? I suppose, but is it feasible to go into a new region where you have massive upfront costs to get started, and you have incumbents there that have just been like at it for decades, right?
Yeah, I think you got software developer brain, because you think about it, the initial cost to the customer is so high and it comes down over time, right? I would think, right? The initial cost to acquire a customer, to get their attention, to get them to try your software and go. And then after that, it's easy. You just bring in new customers because the cost becomes lower. There, I think it's different because the lifetime value of the customer is higher than a software company, where I might be able to get lifetime value of $2,000 out of an individual. The lifetime value of a customer in trash collection might be 20 years, right? At $300 a month or $30 a month. So it's one of those things where I think the lifetime value is higher. So the cost to acquire, which means set up a new base of operations, get the contract, secure a contract, all that might be higher as well.
Yeah, but the upfront cost for the business is so incredibly high, because you can't do trash collection with let's start small and have a truck, right? Like it's a big operation. You basically have to go like boom, operations. Like it's your staff, your facilities, your equipment, everything. But now you have to go in against an incumbent, and they've been doing this forever, and they can go, like you said, like the cost of acquisition and the customer value, like the length of time you can hold your customer is so long. How do you convince somebody to move from them outside of price? But they're the incumbent, and they can probably go, yeah, I can cut my prices for a year to knock you out. So you have to have so much money up front to be able to do this, because you're going to run at a loss for a while. Okay,
I agree with that. All right, so first of all, here's somebody that will never advise you to cut your price unless you need to cut your price. It'll be one of the last things. It's Cash Flow Mike, because chances are, I have a complete philosophy that price doesn't matter. There is a customer for every price point. you have to determine who your ideal buyer is and put the value into that price for that buyer. That's exactly how most companies are successful. Now, I told you in the beginning of the show that I had some big revelation. I've been building this weekly coaching group, right? It's every Wednesday morning, 8:30 Central Time to 9 a.m. Central Time. And this thing has just grown. It's become my favorite part of the week because I got free form on teaching whatever concept I want. And for the customer, the person that's doing this with me, it's only $59 a month for 2 hours of coaching, training, getting questions answered. I mean, it's a ridiculous value. They are complaining to me that it's too cheap. I've never once, not one time in my entire career, 14 businesses, as somebody says, Mike, your stuff is too cheap. This one product, $59 a month, they're saying for 2 hours of coaching. And if you can't make it to a Wednesday meeting, I'm recording them all, putting them into a video vault so you don't miss anything. And you can go back to it. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever done. And it is the most popular thing that happens. $59 a month, you get coaching from Cashflow Mike. It's crazy. So if you haven't been there, go to cashflowmike.com, go to services in the top menu. It's the first thing I offer, the weekly coaching subscription, $59 a month. You get access to all the videos from every week that we've done, plus a drip content of my Clear Path to Cash signature course. Over the course of a year, you will get all my tools, my resources, everything you need. It just builds upon itself. So it isn't one of those subscriptions that says there's no value next month. Yeah, there is, because more stuff comes in next month. It builds with you as you are active in your subscription. So go to cashflowmike.com, check it out. I appreciate it.
Nice. Do it.
I don't think you knew about it. Did you know about that one?
No, you haven't told me about that one. So that's really cool. That's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that I just kind of tested earlier this year. And I'm like going, it has grown. I mean, just people will do it. If anything, just to ask questions. Mm-hmm. Hey, I got this going on. What do you think? Today we did one. If you go to my Facebook group, I have a video of today's video call, right? It was how to evaluate inventory. How much inventory should you have? How to measure inventory, those type of things. 30 minutes shows you everything to do on how to get control of your inventory and put more cash in your pocket. Go to any of my social, Cashflow Mike social handles. I posted the video there. You get a look at what it's going to be like before you even pay $59. Go check it out.
Nice. Do it. I'll go check it out. I'll check it out.
That was all right. So I'm a little tired. Remember, I'm boring. I'm tired today, so I'm a little tired. So not quite as sharp. That's me. It's probably the fourth.
I was, when you're talking about the boring companies, what came to mind to me was how often, and I still, we got to hesitate using this term, but companies that you could think are potentially boring, how often you need them when there's some sort of panic going on, right? Like there's just, you don't think of it until there's the sewers backing up, or you don't think of them until there's, your garage door won't close, or you don't think of it till like your furnace won't run and it's cold out, or it's interesting how suddenly something that you could see as boring is suddenly so incredibly important and topical. And I don't know if there's something you can leverage with that, but it's how do you get picked? Like the traditional way used to be AAA or 1A because you'd be the first in the yellow pages. But how do you do that now? How do you hack it now if you're a company like that where you just got to be found, right?
I think it's all SEO now. It's all SEO. You got to be on the first 5. Yeah, I think you got to be in the first 5 on Google. Mm-hmm. And believe it or not, it costs some money to get there. And if you're doing any SEO work on your website, do not expect instant results because you got 28 million more companies also trying to get, into the top search results. So it takes time, it takes a little effort, it takes consistency. And I think our increase in downloads in this, we don't do any SEO. We just kind of
no, we should
go, right? We probably should try that. We don't do any SEO, but it's one of those things where if you really are consistent with it, you'll see the results. Just in 1 year, I moved up 200 positions with Cashflow Mike in 5 different keyword things like cash flow consulting, cash flow expert, cash flow, whatever it is. 200 positions. That stuff works. I poo-pooed it in the past. I don't poo-poo it anymore. It's like that works. You got to just do it.
Yeah. It's when people are that type of situation where they're searching for you because you're not used regularly. Like you need a plumber in the middle of the night on a Saturday. You may not have one that you've used before. No one comes to mind. You're going to Google. And yeah, you're right. You have to be in the top. And the one thing that with some of those businesses, they have an advantage if they're localized, because at least it shrinks it down from, how many million businesses or thousands upon thousands of businesses to, your local area, you got a dozen, you got a couple dozen or whatever it is. Right. Now at least your competitive landscape changes a little bit, but boy, that means that your SEO, like you have to be found, front and center in that region. Like that's a really important sort of thing, right?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, exactly for these type of companies, I think you have to localize it. Stop wasting money on markets that you'll never service. If you don't do trash collection in Houston or Dallas, don't spend any of your SEO dollars on those markets. Focus all of it on just people that are searching inside, we'll say San Antonio. So it's one of those things where you have to focus it. Now, I didn't. So it probably costed me a little bit more and it took a little bit longer because I went nationwide. Why? Because I don't have a service area and I don't need people to call me from San Antonio.
No, and see, you're the opposite. Same thing with us. Is it's not about getting regional because it's a little bit more of a niche. So you need the bigger market and you need to go national or global or international, whatever it is, right? It's just a bit of a different scheme and a different problem to be found in that case. But you're also like in your local areas, like you're not competing with 20 other cash flow guys, but there probably aren't as many places looking for you as might be looking for a plumber.
All right, so there is a bunch of these SEO companies out there right now that will give you this local grid map. Have you seen this?
No.
This local grid map is, we'll say it's 7x7. It'll be like a mile or 2 miles. They can drill in that close to your business and show you where you rank compared to your competitors in that mile on the internet instantly. They just say, hey, here's your local grid rank. And it will be by keyword. It just rotates through. Here's how you rank in. Because I look just for fun. I'm like going, here's one for funeral homes. I don't know why I was thinking about that. Well, I go, who comes up first for cremations? Who comes up first? It was a weird thing because I was just goofing around because I've got a client that's a funeral home, right? So I'm like, who comes up first for this? Who comes up first for that? So different services that they have. And it was strange how it would say, oh, you don't do very well in the southwest end of the city. Now if you're already number one up around your place, but you're number 5 or 3 in the southwest end of the city, you know where to target your advertising. Because Google, Yelp, all this has ways for you to target exact areas, even neighborhoods inside different cities.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. You brought something up here, and I'm just sort of thinking about like it's also not Google or not just Google, and that it's like Yelp, like these review sites. There's that's the one of the other ways like localized business can get some real good traction, and some of these things are ignored by businesses, but it is an opportunity, and I'm sure it's annoyance. It's an annoyance too. Like there's things that. Yelp reviews and all those are, you got to take a lot of them with a grain of salt, right? And I think it frustrates business owners, but it's also such an opportunity because so many people find them that way.
Well, and there's companies that will manage that for you, right? So, I mean, for instance, there was a company that approached me, OMG National or International, OMG National, I'll call it. And they will do everything from your emails to your Yelp to your Google. They'll even respond for you. They'll post for you. They'll do all these things for you on those platforms. It's not your social platforms. I'm just talking about your Google profile and your Yelp profile and manage it for you. I'm like going, how much was it? Like $3.99 a month. But they're doing it all for you for $3.99 a month. I'm like, that's not a lot of money.
Yeah.
A funeral. If you did it in a funeral home, $3.99. That's covered in the first funeral that comes in from Yelp.
Yeah, and I think if you're a local business, like that's a really great opportunity because you want to do it right. That's the kind of stuff where it can make such a big difference doing it right when you're local like that. So, I haven't had like a local business in so long. Like I just it's an unfamiliar territory for me, but I also know how incredibly important it is. I'm familiar with the details and the tactics on how you can improve that, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's think about a real estate company. All right. So we've talked about trash. We talked about, funeral homes and plumbers, real estate agents, companies. That's a localized business. That's the same thing. It's one of those ones where they advertise a lot. It seems like you see them, but do you really see them?
Yeah.
I mean, really?
Yeah.
I mean, I really don't. I don't recognize. It's not one of those things unless I need it, and then I'll try to go ahead and figure it out. Who am I going to hire?
Yeah, it's something you block out till suddenly you need it, and I think that's why real estate agents know that a lot of times it's the last one you saw, or the first. Maybe it's the first one you see when you need it, because it's like you block it out. It's like banner blindness on websites. You block it out till suddenly you need it, and then it's like, oh, now it's everywhere, and who do I go with, right?
Well, yeah, but with repeat business, it's who did last, right? Meaning, like with Courtney, she's got a real estate agent she's done 2 or 3 transactions with. That's the only person she uses. I've got a friend that sells commercial real estate. I don't care if I'm leasing or buying. I'm only calling him. I don't care about advertising at that point in time. I'm only calling him, right? So that's a relationship business. But because of that, it's kind of boring. I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, just get out there and be part of the relationships? It's boring because we don't think about it. You can't get my attention if I don't need you.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's where, that's why there's such they advertise so much, because it probably takes a lot to get a little. I think that's where open houses are all about, is to get FaceTime relationship conversations. I don't think it's really about selling. It's about trying to find people that are kind of kicking around the can a little bit to maybe look at a house, and they're doing it on their own. So it's like, that's how you get to them. But I think it's more for the real estate agent than the homeowner that's selling,
Oh, definitely. They'll tell you they get just as many listings out of it as they do sales. And the listing, nothing happens in real estate unless you have a listing. You got to have that first.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, that's an interesting one, because there's a lot of competition now from all sorts of online services to real estate agents, and that's also an interesting area. If it's built on what you call, say, a boring industry, is there an opportunity to disrupt those industries? Because there might not be that much defining it. There's not a brand that you trust, or outside of maybe a relationship here and there. Is there an opportunity, right?
All right. So I think that in 2008, again, I'm a banking guy, 2008, the government created an opportunity to disrupt the banking industry, right? Dodd-Frank made things more expensive for traditional banks. They went upstream, stopped making lower loans to small businesses. Well, because of that, it was the explosion of marketplace lenders, Lendio, On Deck, Cabbage, all these things popped up. So they started to disrupt the banking industry. Then recently, because of cross-border payments and the inability to connect globally with a bank, it was difficult. There are some digital neobanks, right? Online banks only,
Yep.
that do that for you, right? They will do that for you and emulate that they're a bank in Poland, or there'll be a bank in, Pakistan, instead of having a physical bank there that they have to make the transaction to. It will be a digital bank that they partnered with a physical bank. It's a weird thing. So there's some disruption in global digital banking because of the way that they can move money across the internet now and not violate laws.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's
banking's a boring thing. I mean, it's a boring thing. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. Well, and that's where the innovation comes from is so often as people that are just behind the scenes that just identify something like that and go, it's been like that forever. But the technology or the circumstances, the market's changed, there's an opportunity there. And they just know those details that no one else from the outside will see, right? And that's where you can get some of that innovation.
Yeah, that's right. So, hey, I want to throw some bullshit in here, right? So, play on words. Elon Musk has a company called the Boring Company.
Yes.
Heard of it?
Yep. Yep.
They're building that high-speed tunnel underneath. I think it started with like LA to Vegas or LA to San Francisco or something like that. I forget what it was, but it's like they're just building tunnels under places. And they're even talking about building one from like Austin to San Antonio, right? Because he's up in, or Austin to Dallas or something like that.
I don't know if they've actually built anything yet. They seem to talk about it. I know they made that little like weird flamethrower thing online, but it was just a little torch basically, but they called it a flamethrower from Boring Company. I don't know if you remember that.
No, I think I saw an article where they have 2.5 miles built in California.
Oh, really? Okay. I didn't know they had done like anything yet. So,
but that started like 5 years ago or longer.
Ago, yeah.
I mean, 2.5 miles is a long time, but they are getting an incredible amount of resistance from the government, right? Like, who owns the land? If it's underneath, it's like air rights. Now you got to have subterranean rights.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I didn't know about that. He is very much seems to be a do first and apologize after kind of thing. Like just.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like that right now, but it's probably pretty clear that, hey, well, how many businesses or homes can I actually go under, without disrupting, whatever is happening up above? It's a great idea. It's a great, but I was thinking that his company name was the Boring Company.
Yeah.
And it's boring to us because we don't really care. Hey, you're drilling a tunnel, right? It's mundane. It's routine. Who really cares? That the end product is just going to be a road under the ground. Yeah. So it's not only boring from the point of view that it's boring, but it's boring because it's boring. He's boring into the earth, and it's Boring Company for us to talk about.
Well, I wonder if he was thinking of it a bit tongue in cheek, or if he actually just thought it was boring, so he named it that. I'm not too sure. Not too sure which way he was thinking there, but he's got a unique perspective, so I'm not too sure.
Well, based on his X, formerly known as Twitter, account, I think he's smart enough to have play on words, right? He's always got a play on words. So I think the Boring Company was compared to Tesla, compared to SpaceX, compared to PayPal. Well, it's probably boring. It's probably not his favorite company to work with.
Yeah. I watched a little bit more BS here. I watched a review of the Cybertruck the other day. I saw one here in Scottsdale just last week, and I didn't even know they were out and about. But I saw one driving on the street, and I'm like, "Oh, crazy! That's a Cybertruck, cool." So I watched a review on it online, and I'll be honest with you, I was a little bit skeptical, and I was like, They've been working on this for years and this blah, blah, blah. And I watched the review and I was quite amazed. They have like, I don't think I would go out and buy one, but what they showed on the truck, like how safe it was, like they, when they do those crash tests and they ram a car like on a track, and they'll ram a car from the side and kind of, T-bone a car and it's slightly dented in, and they're kind of like, yeah, you can just pop that back out. What? Like the stuff that they did with the car and the performance and everything. I'm like, yeah, okay. They pushed the limit on that. Like, I think in a lot of ways, he pushed the limit on it. He built an industry for electric cars that really wasn't there because he made them commercial. And now it feels like he's kind of setting the bar on the performance aspects of the car. And I'm sure range and everything else is coming too. It's kind of interesting.
Well, what's funny is, again, like you're talking about, is how durable, how tough this thing is. Yeah. And, I've seen probably 4 or 5 different videos. A couple of them were faked, and they actually came out as, that was CGI, that was animation or whatever. Yeah. But the fact that he's thinking about this as a vehicle that can be used, for complete safety in multiple environments. I'm talking about like riots, apocalypse. It's probably not that good, but so I saw Joe Rogan shoot an arrow at it, barely scratched it. I saw somebody shoot at it with, I forget what caliber of gun, put a few little dents and dings in it. The one that made me laugh, one robot gives another robot a gun, right? So it's like the robot guy's like, shoots at it like with an automatic rifle. And then another robot gets out of the car and goes, "Hey, I'm safe." And they all celebrate. They go, "Yay." These 3 robots. Like, okay, that's funny. But they said that one was faked. It was animated. Yeah. As part of it. But it was just one of those funny things, right, about it. I still think that it's more durable than most trucks on the road right now.
It seems to be. And I think the thing is that like, I watched a third-party review of it. Like, it was just some guys that have a channel with a lot of viewers. So it wasn't a secondary channel, like a big channel on YouTube. So that was where I found it kind of interesting, because it was like, yeah, this isn't propaganda. This is just those guys that review cars and are, they make their living off of being honest. Right. So it was interesting.
Well, I don't think I know quite now what the design is. It's just ugly. Right. So I don't know. There has to be another purpose for the design the way it is than I know.
Now, I can't remember exactly how they said it, but it was on one of these videos, and they said it was, if I remember right from the video, it was Elon Musk's son said something about how come trucks don't look like the future. Like, they all look the same from like the 1950s, like they have barely changed, right? And so that was kind of interesting. I guess the initial drag coefficient was quite high, but they've somehow got that down to really low. So maybe that's part of it. But is it ugly because it's different, or is it ugly because it's ugly? And I can't quite decide, because when I see it, I think that's ugly, but I'm like, yeah, but is it, or is it just because it's so different? Right. I'm not sure.
Because I'm not used to it. Yeah. It makes sense. Makes sense. It's like, well, let me ask you this. When you say the drag coefficient, sorry, I saw a video that has to be faked. It was the Cybertruck pulling a Porsche on a trailer, outrunning in a drag race another Porsche. Oh my God, that can't be true, right? A truck pulling a Porsche because outrunning a Porsche.
This truck, because in this video they were racing every other electric truck, right? And I'm pretty sure the 0 to 60 is under 2.5. Like, it is ridiculous.
They said 2.3.
Yeah, and it's got such good traction and such good torque that I could probably pull the thing and barely be affected by it. So it's insane what this thing can do. And well, it's insane. Well, I guess it's just there's a bar that electric cars are setting, because it's basically kind of infinite torque, and it's so much, right, that they accelerate.
See, we should put that on the Facebook page. A Cybertruck pulling a Porsche, outrunning were out drag racing another Porsche. That video's out there on YouTube.
Let's find it. We'll put it up there for you guys. I want to see it actually too. So
got to, right? You got to at least, you can't talk about things like that and not put it out there, right?
Yeah.
And if I can find the one of them shooting, well, I won't do that. But know that there's a video out there, because I don't want to be, called that guy. But there's a video out there of robots shooting one of these trucks, but it's a fake video. They've already said it's a fake video. So don't get freaked out if you see it.
Yeah, and I don't want to say that we're endorsing Tesla, because I'll be honest with you, I'm still pretty skeptical, and partly because Musk just seems a little bit erratic, and so I'm a little bit skeptical of Tesla. And then I saw that video, and I'm like, they kind of the engineering wise, they've done something there that seemed pretty impressive. So we'll put that video up so you can check it out, because it seems pretty interesting.
All right, Blaine, 120 is in the books. 120, episode 120, and boring is beautiful. And I'm going to encourage you to go to mikeandblaine.com and buy our merch. I'm telling you, if you haven't seen it, I even posted a picture this week. I think you liked it, right? So I posted a picture
Just Giving Her,
of the Just Giving Her t-shirt. So go get your t-shirts, go buy us a beer, become a sponsor of the show. And if you do want to be the title sponsor, reach out, contact us. We are in need and wanting a title sponsor. It could be you.
Yeah. And make sure you subscribe, share, like, comment, the whole works. And you can even text Mike and I. We do get texts every once in a while from people. I always get a kick out of that. So, but make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any episodes.
Dude, Larry texted me during the recording, but he had a question, like he wasn't watching the recording. Like I just had a random.
I'll have to wait. That one might have to wait.
He's probably confused because if you don't know this, we're doing this on Wednesday. We always do it on Thursday, so we have screwed it all up. Yeah.
We this week's weird, and I don't even remember why it just is. So, but we got a few more this month. Yeah,
because I have a Trinity University event tomorrow afternoon.
Yes. Okay.
I feel it did. So I asked you to move it. Remember, I think you even put it out there that I'm the one most likely to move a live recording than you are.
Yes, because you're on airplanes more than I am, and you're on this, that, and the other more than I am. So I'm that way. We go by your schedule. I'm good, man. I've got her penciled in here, and we're good to go.
Flexible. You're always flexible. I appreciate it. I appreciate you and Dry Run. So let's put 120 to bed. What do you think?
Let's do it. Join us next week for 121. I think we should have, I didn't look at the calendar, but I think 3 more before the end of the year. So we're going to try and get into 123, hopefully before the clock ticks over to 24. So make sure you join us.
Check out their website at mikeandblaine.com. Then subscribe to the podcast and buy these guys a beer.